trouble with you.
And we're here. We're rolling out the red carpet for friends, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Come Get Some.
Diners, drive-ins, and taverns.
I wish, man. That would be friggin' awesome. Back for another episode here. We've been gone for a little while. Summer, vacations, Dave shows, lots of stuff getting in the way, but
I feel like I've been hibernating.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done anything. I think last thing.
Did you get enough berries to feed your family?
I did. Yeah, I'm back from the wilderness, and they're all fed and good. I'm fed, nice. So we're here to talk about a lot of things that have happened. Some of them are going to be older, and you're going to be like, "What the hell are they talking about this now for?" But we're just trying to encompass everything that's kind of happened in the last maybe month or so. We were supposed to do a review of the Xfinity Theater Hartford show I saw on June 23rd, but life gets in the way. Since then, I've seen another show at Jones Beach, so we'll just kind of briefly talk about those two sets. Talk about the Howard Stern interview and the iHeartRadio interview, also the Sirius channel that's been going on and all the stuff that's come along with it, the Friday night shows and some of the webcasts, set diversity, all the stuff that we're going to get into. But since it was a while ago, I guess we should maybe talk about the Hartford Xfinity show that I attended back in June. Now, this was not, this is kind of like the beginning, middle of the tour, not so much the beginning, but, a couple weeks after the tour started. When the guys are really trying to find their groove, and they definitely had it. The set list had not been completely diverse. They've been playing, relatively the same stuff, but throwing in some bangers every now and then. Bangers. Throwing in a couple bangers, mashing bangers.
So how's this crowd? Were they hostile?
Well, the crowd, it's funny, man. Hartford is one of those crowds that I usually hate, and for all my Massachusetts friends out there, I'm sorry, but. I'm from New York, and
they're going to remember you said that.
Yeah, I'm sure. But, it just seems like a very different kind of crowd. It's always been an obnoxious crowd. The first time I went there in 99, there was a riot, and, the police were shooting people with rubber bullets. It was crazy. Oh. And somehow I missed all this because I just kind of left the show and went home and heard about it later.
So did it make the music better?
The bullets, I don't know, to be honest with you. But, there's been a lot of incidences in Hartford, and I've had a lot of trouble with certain things there, like even getting into the venue a few times. It's like a cluster F, like when you're trying to get in. The people have been real crappy. It's a mix of New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, so it's a real kind of weird thing. And I felt like this was the first time in years that I went there, and the crowd was real subdued and mellow. It seemed like an older crowd too. A lot of times
you go to Hartford. Gas before the
they did before the show this time. They were smart. Way to go, Hartford Police.
They weren't even facing the stage. Everybody was like facing. Yeah, they didn't know what was going on.
Usually it's also like sometimes you get a real young crowd, like a lot of young kids getting wasted and just getting carried. I used to see at least 10 to 12 people getting carried out either on a stretcher or in a cop car before the show starts. And this year, the tailgate was great. There was lots of people and just hanging out. The weather wasn't great, so a lot of people were just kind of hanging under their tarps or whatnot. But the energy was good in the parking lot and inside too. It was probably the best crowd I've seen in Hartford in a long time, to be honest. And I go there every year.
No, there's these people. They have these people.
I
just called Dave Matthews.
These cretins.
Is there an opening act? I can't even remember if they have.
Yeah, me and my buddy Scott in the parking lot he brought his axe with him, so we did a bunch of songs in the parking lot.
Axe is his guitar, by the way.
Axe, yes. No, he didn't bring an
medieval
axe. Yeah. But, the show delivered for sure. One thing that I think has been constant throughout the tour, even at this point now, after watching some of the webcasts and listening to the Friday night shows on Sirius, they've got this ridiculous energy about them right now that is unparalleled and cannot be matched, I don't think, by any band out there. There's just something about these guys, clearly, because, we're sitting here talking about them. But I don't know if it's because of Buddy Strong or Boyd not being there, the combination. They're clearly reinvigorated, for sure. There's no doubt about that. These guys are out there. They're smiling and laughing at every turn. You could tell they're having a ball out there, and the music is reflecting it, and the energy is certainly reflecting it. Cool. Briefly, just run down the set quick, because I'm sure you guys have already been there, done that, and they're not even... Right, doesn't even matter anymore. But That Girl Is You is one of my favorite. We've talked about this. One of my favorites from the new album. They open with that. One Sweet World, staple. Granny is always great. Crush, jammed. Samurai Cop, Stay or Leave, What Would You Say, Can't Stop, Jimmy Thing, which was awesome, and then Captain, which was a real surprise, because, they'd been kind of breaking out songs here and there, throwing them into the set somewhere, and Captain was ours that night.
I heard people were freaking out about that.
Yeah, it's not a song that they play all the time. I mean, it's not. It's one of those songs that people definitely, want to hear and not often played. But it was an awesome song. It's not like a high energy song, but it's also a song that just has a great melody throughout, and it's easy to sing, and people love it. And it's an older song, so.
I figured it was special. I was watching somebody put it up on YouTube, and I was watching the actual concert. And when that song started, Captain, the guy that was taking the video was like, "Oh, Captain!"
Yep,
they're freaking out.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
It was a special song, and we were happy to see it. Warehouse, one of the only times they played Black and Bluebird this tour, which is a great tune. Song that Jane likes, Lying in the Hands of God, with the American Baby outro in it. Funny,
the ones that sound like one big song. You just
well, Lying in the Hands of God is a song from Big Whiskey and the Gru Grux Kings. Probably my favorite song. Oh God, it's so tough. Squirm. Lying in the Hands of God is a great tune, and they always jam on it. And now they've incorporated an older song called American Baby intro into the jam. So it's a really cool deal that they do there. Funny the Way It Is, Come Tomorrow, Stand Up, Louisiana Bayou. And then the encore was Space Between and Tripping Billies, which is, I always love Tripping Billies.
One of your favorites, right?
It is. It's one of those ones that I'm sure, hardcore fans like myself would probably laugh at me for saying that, but Tripping Billies is one of the reasons I got into the band. After seeing Boyd solo in it, it's just one of those musical things that it's amazing live. That whole 3 or 4 minutes where he's just soloing and they're jamming behind him. Yeah, check him out, Boyd. But that's not the case anymore.
I heard he tried. It'd be funny if they brought him out on stage in a wig and they were like, "This is Toyd Binsley." Toyd Binsley.
Yeah,
that's not the same thing.
He's
he's gone for good, right?
That's the way it seems. Yeah, I don't think there's ever going to be any Boyd left, unless for some reason he gets, cleared of his name gets completely cleared. Who knows even if that point if that's going to happen? Because if he does get cleared, then what's been the problem with him for the last couple of years? He's clearly, not been the same for years. And Dave mentioned, talk about the Stern interview and the iHeartRadio interview. Stern, surprisingly, maybe because it was something that was told to him beforehand, did not bring up Boyd once during the interview. Now, I'll preface this by saying,
seems like he would have. Yeah.
You would think that would be the first thing. Yeah. Stern, I love Howard Stern almost as much as I love Dave Matthews. I've been a Howard Stern fan forever. And my buddy Tim and I have been going back and forth for years, even petitioning to have, because they kind of have this weird, feeling of Dave Matthews on the Stern show, and nobody's really a big fan except for some of the back office people. And Stern kind of knocked him before, and some of the guys have tried talking about him. But it really never kind of went over, and we were always just like, man, if he just got into that show for just put him on for a half hour, let him talk, let him play 1 or 2 songs, because Stern loves people who come in and play acoustic, right. And Dave is such a interesting cat, man. He's he's got a good story to him.
He's like a tabby.
He's got a good backstory. He's very interesting. He can be a little eccentric for sure. He's not the most, when you listen to his interviews, it's not like a straightforward thing. You've got to decipher some of the things he says. But
it's definitely funny, though.
But the rapport between him and Stern from minute one was amazing. And just like me and my buddy Tim thought it would be, it was just the meeting of the two minds, if Hulk Hogan walked in, it would have been the ultimate for me, because, would have incorporated all my heroes. But
plus they're both tall.
Yeah.
So they could look each other in the eye because they're both tall.
But, Howard has a way of kind of making an interview just seem like a conversation between two friends. He does that with everybody, but so you got that vibe the entire time. I totally felt like at the end of this interview, it was perfect. Some of the highlights of the interview, obviously, was Dave did 3 songs. So you knew you were going to get Samurai Cop because that's the single. I had heard before the interview, Howard had said that he was going to do 1 classic, 1 new one, and a cover. So immediately I was telling my buddies, I think that as a cover, he's probably going to do Whiter Shade of Pale, because I know Howard loves that song. That or The Needle and the Damage Done. He loves Neil Young. And he loved that Procol Harum song. So when I heard that he was doing that, I thought it was perfect. The problem is it's like, 7 in the morning. You want Dave to sound good. And he did. He killed it. I mean, he really, really killed it. He was about to play Don't Drink the Water. He kept harping on the fact that that's what he wanted to play, but Stern wouldn't let it go. He wanted him to play Crash Into Me because Stern really likes the radio hits. That's what he wants to hear. And Dave reluctantly played an amazing version of Crash Into Me. The one thing that I didn't like about it was that he left out the Hike Up Your Skirt a Little More line, which is completely perfect for Stern. But
not for the world now.
Right. But nonetheless, man, he crushed it. I mean, he killed it. And then he did a version of Samurai Cop, which was awesome too. And the interview was perfect. And on the iHeartRadio interview, he did allude to Boyd, talking, pretty much saying some of the same things that we heard a couple months ago, that basically, Boyd was his own kind of genius. But, long story short, look, the guy just has not been showing up. Even when he was there physically, he wasn't there. He checked out, and the band was suffering, and they were really about to call it quits, and then all this stuff kind of happened, and they just got this reinvigorated spirit about them. And he says it too, Buddy Strong, it's not that he's so prominent in the band now, got all these solos taking over for Boyd. It's just another guy, though, that's kind of maybe thrown into the mix, that's kind of giving them some energy. Clearly, if you listen to the version of Stay the other night from, what the hell was it, where they were, West Palm Beach, you can hear Buddy singing, and he's really got a good voice. But, being able to watch them in Hartford and being able to watch them in Jones, and then watching them on the couple webcasts they've had from Camden and the SPAC one, it's a whole different ball game right now. And these guys, I read all these trolls, man, on Facebook and all these other sites, and it's just like, oh, this set sucked tonight, or this set sucked, or this set. Listen, you're going to get what you're going to get, but at the end of the day, you really got to just appreciate the fact that you're watching the best band in the world killing it with more energy than they've had in years. If they're not playing your song, oh well, what are you going to do about it? Don't go next year. Give that ticket to somebody else. I'll take your ticket, and I'll gladly sit there and listen to them play whatever they play.
And they got like 1,000 songs.
They do, and listen, I understand that when you go to a show, it's like, listen, I'm standing there, I want to hear So Right, like, more than anything. And every time he comes out with the Black Electric, which is the guitar he uses for that, I'm like, oh man, come on, here it comes. But I know it's going to be Samurai Cop, or I know it's going to be Louisiana Bayou. But and then when it starts playing the song, am I disappointed? Maybe, but I'm still into whatever they're playing. And I think people just get too spoiled. The problem is, if they play a 2-night stand or even a 1-night stand, they've got like this core of like 30 to 40 songs that they keep going to the well with, and which is fine. And then they switch it up a little bit here and there. You never know what you're going to get, even so. So I can understand where people want something. You're not going to get like 20 different songs here, and then next week it's going to be 20 different songs that you didn't see at all. But they're going to throw you Bones, and they're going to throw in JTR, which they gave me a Jones opened with. They're going to throw in Hunger for the Great Light. They've been throwing in Pig. I mean, stuff like that. That's what you go to the shows for. But at the end of the day, you just got to be happy. Listen, if Boyd called it quits and these guys decided to never play again, you wouldn't be sitting here complaining about the set list like a little bitch. You'd be over there going, man, I wish I could just see these guys one more time. Appreciate them while they're here, and that's the best thing I could tell you to do. What do you think about that, huh?
Yeah. I agree. They have so many songs that, the odds of them playing your favorite all the time,
you're not going to get it all the time. You're not going to get everything. There are so many songs for them to choose from, but they always, listen, me being the hardcore fan, I've got to understand that somebody's at their first show. Somebody's there, wants to hear Crash. Somebody's there, wants to hear, ants marching. And you know what? That's fine. I was that person, 20 years ago. You just got to go and appreciate it. Whatever they play, they're going to kill. And if it's not the song you want to hear, keep going to shows or just stop going. So it's plain and simple. Stop bitching. That's the bottom line. See what they play, go enjoy it. And if you're sitting there complaining about their set, like I've seen all these people, then you're not as big of a fan as you may think you are. You're just an asshole. That being said, the webcast. So they did a webcast in Camden and they did a webcast in Saratoga, which was awesome because we got to hear Friday night show in Saratoga and watch Saturday nights. Like a loser, I'm sitting at my neighbor's party. Has a big party.
I'm your neighbor.
You are, my friend. My neighbor's got a big party every year, and I'm sitting there, beer in one hand, phone in the other, with Bluetooth headphones, watching the show until it was over. And I could care less because, you know what, to me, they're lucky I was even there, you know. Like, my social life consists of my kids, you know, hanging out with my friends when available, now that I live, you know, an hour away from them, and Dave, you know, but Dave takes precedence, man. Like, if they're playing on Saturday night and I can watch it, I'm watching it. I don't care. And I sit with my group of buddies, you know, Tim and Scott, and we text the whole show, like, holy shit, they're playing this, or, oh, you know. But it's just fun, man. It's like, it's being able to go to the show without having to go, you know, and it's always fun. And I think that they've handled them beautifully. The camera work, the sound has been great, and the Sirius, forget it, man. I can't even. Let's talk about the Sirius real quick. The channel, first of all, it's been extended to September, Labor Day weekend, which is amazing.
When was it originally supposed to end?
It was supposed to end Tuesday, the 31st of July. It was supposed to be the last day. So what they did was they had the channel, which is playing studio stuff, live stuff, you know, little snippets, although kind of repetitive, of the band talking about other artists, you know, a handful of artists like Michael Jackson, Lettuce, Stevie Wonder, some bands like that, and they're playing like little cuts here and there, like every hour or so of another band that the band is recommending. But for the most part, it's just, you know, a lot of repeats, but sometimes, man, I think they just throw something on. I'm like, oh man, that's ridiculous. You know, I find myself listening to it constantly. You know, I always have it on in the car, at home, on you know, on my Amazon Echo or whatever I'm listening to. It's always on. And every Friday night for the month of July, they did a live show. So they started. I believe they started at Deer Creek, which was an amazing show, and then they did Saratoga, and then they did Raleigh, which got me through a lot of my drive to Ohio, and West Palm Beach just this past weekend. And now that they're extended, they're going to be doing their show in Colorado, and also one of their Friday night Labor Day show in the Gorge, which is hopefully going to be just ridiculous. And there's also apparently going to be doing on the shows, because now they're in a little bit of a hiatus. They just finished West Palm and they did a makeup show in Alabama last night. So they're going to be taking a couple weeks off and then retooling back in the West Coast to finish off the tour. And so there's a couple weeks where there's not going to be anything on a Friday night. So I guess they've recorded some other shows throughout the tour, and they're going to play those. So even though the shows have already happened, they're shows that we haven't heard yet, and they keep repeating them all the time, which is awesome. I'm so happy that they're extending it, because I wrote to Sirius and asked for that to happen. You know, I'm sure thousands of other people did. I would love to see it permanent, but I'll take the extra month for sure.
Why couldn't they make it permanent? It's just
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's maybe, you know, they have to hire people to actually, you know, full-time people to run the station. You know, maybe they just feel that they don't have. I mean, if they really kind of really opened up the vault, and not so much like hidden tracks or stuff like that, but, you know, listen, they've got like tons of live albums. They put out their own live album series in two different capacities, DMB Live and DMB Live Tracks. They've got tons of studio stuff. They've got tons of things that he's guested on, or they've guested on, or just they have so much music that they could spend weeks before they have to play one repeat. Not song-wise, but version-wise, I guess you could say. I really think if handled right, and if they had some real fans, like, you know, somebody, at least one real person who knows what they're talking about fully, they could really make something crazy out of that station, more than they could with like a Billy Joel radio, or, you know, similar to what Pearl Jam could do. Pearl Jam has all these live albums and lots of studio stuff. I know U2 got extended when they did theirs, but I think that, you know, Dave fans would really eat this up. I mean, they've done it before. They've done it with a couple of the previous albums that have come out. But I think this one with the Friday Night Live series and some of the stuff they're doing has really stepped it up. And I really think that I would just, you know, I know people who've said, listen, I'll continue, you know, I'll buy Sirius if they keep the station going. And I don't know how many that'll be. You know,
I thought you meant the company for a second.
I'll buy Sirius.
Buy Sirius.
Sheesh. Yeah, for sure. Just quickly to go over the Jones show that I went to a couple of weeks ago. Like I said before, they open with JTR again and again. Don't Drink the Water. So right off the bat, you had 3 high energy songs. Don't Drink the Water is just, it's definitely top 3 as far as energy level songs of theirs. One Sweet World, 7. Louisiana Bayou, again, Can't Stop. Hunger for the Great Light, which I haven't heard live in years myself being in a show, which is, it's a short song, but I've always loved it. Samurai Cop, Rapunzel mid-set, which was kind of cool. You and Me, and then the first time I saw She, I didn't get it at my first show. And then really cool, Jimmy Thing with a few guests. Bria Skonberg, who is, I believe, the girl that was up in Syracuse, and Rashawn had kind of seen her and had her play in Syracuse with them, and must have invited her down here too. She played trumpet and she killed it. James Casey, who is the sax player for the Trey Anastasio band, and Nerf Felder, or Near Nerf Felder, whatever, he plays guitar, and he's in Jeff Coffin's side project. So the 3 of them came out and did a killer version of Jimmy Thing. James Casey stayed on Come On, Rhyme and Reason, and then had a killer solo in What Would You Say. Real cool moment, kind of the band kind of dissipates, and there's just Dave with the spotlight, and he plays Here On Out, which I know is your favorite song from the new album, and that was pretty cool, because he hasn't played that at a ton of shows this year. Started playing a little more now. And then there was this point where, okay, after Jimmy Thing, it's like, all right, they're probably like 13, 14 songs in. You probably got a couple more. Usually it's like average like 18 songs, and then boom, encore, 2 songs. We got to this point where it's like, okay, come on, and you're like, all right, Rhyme and Reason, all right, this, that's usually not a set ender, but it could be. But it was like the next half hour, 40 minutes, it was just like, they just kept going. I don't know if it was because, there was a bad storm and the rain was bad, and, people endured like some shitty weather, but, they just kept going. Then you hear What Would You Say, and you're like, okay, and then they play Here On Out, and you're like, all right, that's, sometimes they play like a mellow one right before they kill it at the end of the set. So I'm thinking Here On Out, and then they start playing Funny the Way It Is, and I'm like, again, interesting set closer, but all right. And then the sax guys, the horn guys leave, and I'm like, my buddy Scott turns to me, he goes, it's going to be Granny, that's the only song that there's no horns. And sure enough, Granny. I'm like, okay, that's a cool set ender. And then they come out and they do Ants. It was almost like 22 songs by the time they left the stage, which is like, it's pretty rare for them to do that. Nevertheless, they did Ants, another killer version. They're really not missing Boyd at all, honestly. I mean, everything is just seamless, man. And then, I mean, some people will say, listen, there's nothing like hearing Boyd, and that's the signature sound of the band. But they're not suffering because he's not there, I guess is the point. And then they did Dig in a Ditch and Stay. And they've done some really, really killer sets since. I mean, Saratoga was really good. And they did it's funny, man. Me and my buddy always talk about this, Tim. We think like, oh, there's going to be a mail-it-in show, like a Tuesday night in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And now those are the shows where all of a sudden, like, they play Pig, and they're playing, all these different things. And you're like, geez, man, there's no rhyme or reason, pardon the pun, for what they play or where they play it. You think sometimes, oh, they're going to SPAC, they're going to kill it. West Palm Beach, and I honestly, West Palm Beach to me didn't stack up to some of the other shows that they've done recently either. But that being said, like I said before, every show is good, and everybody, I look on Facebook, people might not like the set so much, look on the outside looking in, but when you watch the comments of all the people that are writing about it, it's just all like, oh my God, the energy was amazing. This was the greatest show. And that's what you keep hearing across the board. So that's the most important thing to me, is that they seem to be having more fun than ever, and because we were real worried that maybe, all right, all this crap is going down. They came out with a new album. They're going to need some time to recoup, even though they just took a year off. But I'm thinking, man, they're going to keep going strong right now. Overall, I think that the energy and everything, the fans at the beginning of this tour probably they don't know what to expect. How's it going to sound? Or they're going to sound good, but they're only going to play like a handful of songs because they can't play this without Boyd, can they? Yes, they can, and they are. There's not one song I can think of right now that they're like I said it to my friends after half the tour. I'm like, oh well, they're probably not playing this though because that's a bit. Nope, next night they're playing it. Like Pig is a very violin-driven song. Lion Our Graves. Some of these kind of songs that you hear. Dancing Nancy's and all these songs that you would think they can't do because of violin. They tell you, nah, man, we got this.
It's like they're trying to prove something.
Yeah, you'd think, right?
Yeah.
You'd think. Yeah. And the variety of the sets, if you look at the number of songs that they've played this tour as a whole, probably would surprise you more than you would think. And, the diversity is never going to be the way that it was back in 2000, 2001 when they're playing 3 nights at Giant Stadium. But at the end of the day, just be happy. Anything else, Professor?
Oh, I saw him on Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, yes. He was really
funny.
Really,
He's a funny guy.
He is a funny guy, man. And one of the things he used to do before music was he liked to do acting, and he's been in movies and stuff like that. We've discussed that.
I think he might be on a show I watch.
I don't. He was on. I remember he was on House. Remember that show, House? Yeah, House. He was on House. He's been in a bunch of the Adam Sandler movies, kind of lately.
Right, that's right.
Chuck and Larry, and he was really funny in that, actually. Some other ones. What was the other one? Oh, the Don't Mess with the Zohan. He was like a racist redneck. So he's done a lot of acting, things like that. Talented guy.
Yeah.
Talented guy, but wears a lot of hats. So but overall, I gotta say that I've been digging this tour, and I'll be sad when it ends because it's always fun to follow. They're playing tonight. I can't wait to see what they're playing, and then watch, on Periscope or on the DMB Couch Tour on Facebook and all these different things. There's lots of ways. There's lots of access to these guys. So, but the Fallon show was great, man. He did that little skit with, what was it called? Trap songs.
Trap songs.
Stuff like my son listens to. But I thought it was funny. He comes across as genuine and funny all the time. So
it's almost funnier because you wouldn't know that he's funny until you see him be funny. So it kind of, I don't know.
It's funny because he's playing these songs, and you're like, they don't sound half bad when he's playing them. It's just like, the lyrics are obviously not his.
He could a CD of that, and I'm sure he would sell.
Yeah, well, I think they were selling one, weren't they? Wasn't that with Fallon had that like kind of old school like PBS guy sitting with the fireplace and the bookshelves behind him, robe kind of thing going. So we're looking forward. They're gonna, like I said, they're gonna be on hiatus now. But that'll give us some time to absorb all that's come. We can listen to, the live shows that they're going to play on Sirius on Friday nights. I'm not sure exactly what shows they're going to be yet. It'd be cool if one of them was the Jones Show, because I think that was a really good one. But there's so many of them, and everybody that's gone to them is pretty much, that's the show they got to play. Everybody's got their favorites, but at the end of the day, everybody's different. Everybody's looking at a set list with different eyes, going, this is the greatest. No. This is the greatest. Well, how would you know? Like, what you like is different than what I like. But the bottom line is you love it anyway, no matter what they play. I probably said that 100 times. I got to stop saying that. But anyway, man, you have anything else for us this week?
My gum has run out of flavors, so I might have to leave. But get serious. I mean,
yes.
I gotta start watching that.
Yeah, man.
Or listening.
Listening. Yeah, you gotta listen to it.
See, that's why it doesn't. Because I try to watch something that is.
Yeah, the channel's awesome. Hopefully it gets extended, but so we'll probably be back soon with some other stuff. We're going to start doing some things that aren't so like topical at the moment. Maybe some kind of like top 10 lists or some retro things. Just talking about certain things in the band. It doesn't always have to be the latest and greatest information, because once the tour ends, we're not going to have all that stuff to talk about. So we got to make something up, and we know you guys can't live without us. Clearly, so. We have to keep producing stuff. But that's going to be it for this week. We'll see you guys soon with some more Come Get Some. Thank you for listening. And remember, don't burn the day.